The story begins not with a war, but with a funeral that never happened. In the small town of Inabanga, there lived a man named Sagarino, a native constable working under the Jesuit priests. One day he pursued a fugitive accused of abandoning the faith. In the scuffle, Sagarino was killed. His body was brought back to town, ready for a Christian burial, but the local priest, Father Gaspar Morales, refused. Why? Because Sagarino had died in a duel, which the church saw as a sin. For days, the corpse lay unburied. The stench of death filled the air, but what stung more was the humiliation, the denial of dignity. His brother Francisco begged the priest to bury him properly. Morales turned him away again. That was the final insult. Francisco swore he would never serve men who used religion to crush their own people, and from that pain, the rebellion was born. The year was 1744. The Philippines was under the firm hand of Spanish rule. Churches towered over small towns. Priests held both the Bible and the whip. And in the island province of Bohol, life was quiet, on the surface. But beneath that calm, resentment brewed. The people toiled under forced labor, paid heavy taxes, and suffered under officials who claimed to serve God, but often served themselves. It was only a matter of time before someone stood up. That someone was a man named Francisco Sendrijas, better known by the name history remembers him by Francisco Dagohoy, the first strike. On January 24, 1744, Francisco gathered his friends and neighbors, men hardened by work, women tired of watching their families suffer. They attacked the Jesuit outpost in Jagna, killing Father Giuseppe Lamberti, the town's curate. The message was clear. Bohol was no longer silent. The uprising spread quickly. More than 3,000 Boholanos joined him in the early days, and their numbers grew with each passing month. Francisco took the name Dagohoy, believed to come from Dagon sa Huyuhoy, meaning amulet of the breeze. People said he moved like the wind, unseen, untouchable. The rebellion had begun, not as a fleeting riot, but as a war for freedom that would last 85 long years. The Spanish responded quickly. Soldiers marched from Cebu, Tagbilaran, and Manila. But Dagohoy knew the land, and the mountains were his shield. His men retreated into the highlands of Danao, carving out strongholds hidden by thick forest and rocky cliffs. Their main refuge was Dagohoy Cave, a natural fortress with underground rivers and passages. Many said only those blessed by the spirits could find their way through. Inside, the rebels built a community. They planted root crops, hunted, shared supplies. They elected leaders, kept watchtowers, and even held a form of local government. The Spanish called them bandits. But the truth? They were a free people, surviving outside colonial rule, the longest war. For the Spanish authorities, this rebellion became a nightmare that refused to die. Governor after governor tried, 20 in total, to crush Dagohoy's men. But every expedition failed. The rebels knew every inch of the land, where the rivers turned, where the caves breathed, where the fog rolled in thickest. They fought in bursts, ambushes at dawn, arrows from above, traps in the dark. Then they'd vanish, as if the mountains swallowed them. The Spanish called them ghosts. Over time, the rebellion became more than one man's fight. It became a way of life. New generations were born in the hills, raised on stories of defiance. Dagohoy became legend, said to have powers, a charm that made him invisible, a man guided by the wind. Whether that was truth or myth didn't matter. What mattered was hope, and hope kept them alive. Dagohoy's death. The rebellion lives. Decades passed. The world outside changed. Priests came and went. Governors died and were replaced. But Bohol's hills remained untamed. Francisco Dagohoy himself eventually died. How exactly, no one knows. Some say illness. Some say old age. Others whisper he vanished into the caves, carried away by the wind he was named after. But his death didn't end the rebellion. His followers kept fighting. For their families, their pride, and their land. By this point, it wasn't just about one man. It was about a people who refused to kneel for nearly a century. The wind that never died. Francisco Dagohoy was not a king, not a general, not even a rich man. He was just someone who couldn't stay silent when his brother was shamed. And yet, that single act of courage became the longest rebellion our country has ever known. His story reminds us that revolutions don't always start with politics. Sometimes they start with heartbreak, with faith, with family. And just like the wind of Bohol, Soft, persistent, unseen, the spirit of freedom never truly disappears. It moves quietly from generation to generation. That is the legacy of Francisco Dagohoy. Watch more stories like this, only on my YouTube channel.